What a crazy Sunday. There were 8 games on. There were huge performances as usual. There were in-game minutes limits. There were, of course, there was stuff. There was stuff. We're going to talk about the stuff. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and I've decided that for the rest of my career, I'm going to be following the path laid by Warwick Kappa. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram, at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Head across to LockedOnDaily.com as well and sign up for the newsletter, the best newsletter for your favorite NBA team. It's at LockedOnDaily.com. Go ahead and check that out and double bang over here. Subscribe, you'll never miss an episode. I didn't do a daily streaming show for Monday with 12 games on because there's 12 games on. It's not really a streaming day. And we've got to be a little bit more cautious about the way that I'm not necessarily devoting my time, but I think that was, and those shows take a long time to do, probably not necessary with 12 games on. So I do apologize for that, but we'll be rolling the rest of the week as per usual. We're here recapping Sunday's action across the league. It is international Wig Day. So if you're someone who's got the old wig going up top, here we go. Celebrate it. Comb it out. Live life luxuriously lustrous. Should we talk about NBA games? We probably should, but we won't because we're going to talk a little bit of news. And we'll elaborate on this a little bit more about the Philadelphia 76ers and about Nick Nurse's comments about limiting minutes of 3 players that he mentioned: Gershon Yabusele, Kelly Oubre, and Quentin Grimes. Now, never going to be one to call the self-branded hat legend Nick Nurse a liar, because he didn't. He told us he was going to do it, and he did it. And the thing we've got to try and figure out is what on earth does that mean as we move forward? And we'll talk about it when we get to the Sixers game. The update on LeBron James was he's out for 1 to 2 weeks with a groin strain. Just add 1 onto that, 2 to 3. He's not coming back in 1 week. I'm so sorry. The only way that would happen is if he comes back, limps through 20 minutes and 1 second to get him up to 65 games eligible to make All-NBA. That's it. It's not happening. That is the only way that happens, and he's going to be not healthy, very clearly, putting him at risk of further injury just to satisfy a 65-game rule. So just keep an eye on that. With him out and with Rui Hachimura out, I'm expecting we get a conglomerate of guys jumping in. Jared Vanderbilt, Dalton Knecht, Gabe Vincent, Jordan Goodwin. All of those guys will have extra opportunities. Interestingly, for the Lakers, Dorian Finney-Smith is out again tomorrow as well, so you're going to get a lot of Knecht, you're going to get a lot of Vanderbilt, you're going to get a lot there, and they become interesting streamish guys, but again, I don't think they'd crack my active lineup with 12 games on. I said that we don't have an Amen Thompson update, but we do. We just got one, and the update is confusing. TeamSpeak pushed through a newsbreaker. The update from ESPN's own Shams Charania is that emerging two-way force, Amen Thompson, will be sidelined for 10 to 14 days due to a left ankle sprain, sources tell ESPN. Okay, cool. MRI on the ankle showed no structural damage. Bullshit. And you want to know why that is bullshit? That whole statement is bullshit? Because if you have a sprain, you have structural damage. Unless they mean no fractures on the bone. But you know what? That's not what an MRI is designed to show. So they're saying it showed no structural damage, but he will rehab and receive treatment for the swelling. What swelling? Can you immediately sit there and say, it's swollen, mate, probably about 2 weeks? None. What are we doing? And all of this comes through, and if you're not like, maybe I could be wrong, easily, but all of this comes through if you're not attuned to it. You go, I think we're good here. Just, there's nothing wrong. Just swelling. 2 weeks for swelling. calling it a sprain with no damage, all of that doesn't mesh together. None of it makes sense. So something in there is inaccurate. What it is, I've got no idea. Is it the fact that he called it a sprain inaccurate? Was he using a colloquial term in terms of an ankle roll as a sprain? Maybe. When they say no structural damage, does he mean bone issue, which again is not determined on MRI? Don't know. What are they talking about? In all likelihood, it's a grade 1 sprain, minimal tearing of the ligaments, and you got a 2-week absence. I'm guessing. So we'll see. As for who replaces him, well, it's probably going to be a straight swap for Fred VanVleet, who is questionable. But you'll get a little bit more Aaron Holiday, a little bit more Eason, a little bit more Jabari Smith. VanVleet could easily just roll in and play 35 minutes, though, and it just sort of cancels out straight away. That's possible. Tyrese Halliburton is questionable, so we'll just keep an eye on that. If he is out, you know it's Mathurin, it's Nembhard, and it's Neesmith that all get bumps in that position. Chris Middleton and Marcus Smart are resting on Monday. First half of a back-to-back. A lot of this stuff is relatively easy to see. We know they were going to rest them because they're old and they're the Wizards, but they played Toronto on Monday and they got Detroit on Tuesday. So picking which one it's going to be, it was always going to be Monday, and it is. So we know about that. And then Cam Thomas is out for the Nets. We expect that he was going to sit one of both of the back-to-backs this week. I expect D'Angelo Russell sits one of each of the back-to-backs this week. I don't know about Cam Johnson. He's just coming off a non-back-to-back rest, so that makes me think there's no chance he plays 5 games. So we watch that. And then speaking of resting on a non-back-to-back, Jakob Poeltl is resting on Monday against, guess who? The Wizards. So get ready for an absolutely horrid week from the Raptors because they play Washington on Monday, Philadelphia on Wednesday, Utah on Friday, Portland on Sunday. So I would guess, I think they're trying to get Scotty Barnes to 65 games under the absolutely delusional view he's going to make All-NBA, which he won't. So what we're expecting here is I expect we get Poeltl sitting at least a game. Well, he's sitting Monday, right? So that's done. Quickly will sit a game. Barrett will sit a game. Barnes will probably sit a game as well. Would be my guess throughout this week. When they happen, I've got no bloody idea. All we know is that Poeltl is out on Monday. So that is your little update on that stuff. Should we talk games first? One, I know you don't know the answer to this, but why does the NBA do this? The Thunder, the number 1 seed. The Nuggets, the champion 2 years ago, the top seed in the West, nearly all last season. We've got marquee matchups. Let's put them against each other on a back-to-back. Mind you, the back-to-back is them playing each other 2 in a row. So not only are you wasting one of the premier matchups of the season, you're wasting 2 of them. Why? Why? And these are divisional teams. We're not talking about, well, they're there, they better play. We're not talking about Boston going to LA in that sort of a distance. Why? What are we doing? Anyway, they play again tomorrow. The Thunder win this one easy, 127-103 over Denver. The Nuggets rolled out the same starting lineup as they've been rolling out there. Pretty sure they won't do it tomorrow. Nikola Jokic looked pretty banged up with his elbow. He still played 41 minutes, had 24, 13, and 9 with 3 blocks. There's a little bit of a bonus there from Jokic. But the thing I'm talking about is the fact that Aaron Gordon, for the 3rd time this season, had to leave a game with a calf injury. And of course, it's only soreness. It's the sorest calf in the world, this man. The soreness has lasted 4 months. So, yeah, he's sore. He lasted 7 minutes, and there's almost 0 shot that he plays tomorrow, is my expectation. They won't tell us that immediately, but no shot. So that means we get more Rusty Westbrook. 4 points for Westy in this one, 11 rebounds, 5 assists on 11%. Some might say that stinks, because it does. But if Gordon is going to miss, and I think he will, I think Westbrook is back to being an ad. We've got a big poop cookie game. Michael Porter Jr., 24 and 15 with not a lot else. Christian Brown had another 19 points, continues to be very, very good. And Jamal Murray had 17, 2, and 4. What was interesting is that even with Gordo going down, Peyton Watson played 6 minutes. Okay, so Zeke Naji played 23 and Jalen Pickett played 16 minutes. I don't get that at all, but that's what they did. I wouldn't have thought that would be the lineup that they roll most of the time with Gordon out, but it is what happened here. But honestly, the main sort of standard league change is the fact that Westbrook's value bumps. By the way, Vlatko Čančar back, and he played 1 minute and 13 seconds. The big fella is back, returned from action. I'm glad he did actually avoid a super 6 month plus long injury. The Thunder, last game we saw them, everybody was out. They sat all of their starters. They're all gone, and they're all resting. And in this one, they're all back. So that's it. Chet Holmgren did have a bit of a locker room trip in this game. He did return. He played 26 minutes, and I doubt he plays tomorrow. He had 14 and 8 with 4 blocks. Shai was awesome again, 40 and 8 with 5 assists, 3 blocks, and 2 threes. And I apologize. There are people who are like, man, you didn't talk about my GOAT, Shai. How come you haven't said what good games are? I'll do it now. He's been ridiculously good all season. Apologies if I skip over him because I just don't really know what to say. It's ridiculous. 40 and 8, 5 assists, 3 blocks. Huge volume, 32 shot attempts, 8 of 8 from the line. He's been unbelievably good, and he was unbelievably good again. The Bronco dropped to 26, 9 and 8 game with 2 steals and a block. That is Jalen Williams. Lou Dort was shit, 6 and 6 with 3 assists. Aaron Wiggins was worse, 4 points in 18 minutes on 40%. And this is the thing, and I will go on about this. And there are certain archetypes of these players. Aaron Wiggins, Tamani Kamara, Ty Jerome, Aaron Nesmith even. They're sort of similar-ish players. And they're the guys that look good by a 9-cat ranking metric. But their value comes from getting 56% shooting, getting 23 minutes and having the weird sort of hot streak game with nothing else. But it gets pushed by the volume and the shooting volume and the shooting efficiency. But the problem I have with those sort of players is A, the minutes are never guaranteed as a 7th man. Now, Kamara obviously is not a 7th man, right? But the minutes for these other guys are never guaranteed. But if you have a night where you're not shooting 8 percentage points above your own normal average, you get this. 4 and 7 in 18 minutes, which is completely worthless. So when I'm talking about those sort of players, like a Jerome and a Wiggins, and again, we'll just keep using those are the 2 easy names to focus on here. I look at them and go, yeah, sure, they're streaming options, but they're never somebody I'm going to go, yep, I've got them, I'm locking them in. I know I've got 3 games or 4 games from Jerome or from Wiggins, and I'm going to feel very good about it, because I wouldn't. I'm not going to feel good about a 7th man who relies upon insane shooting hot streaks to provide value that get exciting. And it goes all into the highlight reel bias sort of a stuff. Because no one will mention that he took 5 shots and shot 40% with 4 points. But the next time he has 25 on 80% shooting, he'll get fluffed. But for us, it all counts the same. So that is why I'm never going to be all in on a guy like that. Carson Wallace was shocking as well. 5 points in 17 minutes. Joe played 13 and Caruso had 8 with a steal and 2 blocks in his 17. But all of these guys, they're just not good enough to be held on to as must-roster players in standard formats because of so many options that Mark Dagnall can go to. Tomorrow will be interesting because I think Chet will be out, so you'll see all of them bump a little bit up in there. Even Pig Williams will get a little bit more playing time. Today's episode, it is brought to you by DoorDash. Get ready, because you know what? They swoosh and you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. When any player drops 50 in a 24-25 NBA regular season game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon until midnight. You want to get quick lunch on the go? Bang. DoorDash got it for you. With Dash Pass, of course. You want to get something for the fellas to come around? Maybe a big bowl of, I don't know, triple cheese dip. Is that a thing? Probably not, but I've invented it, so maybe you can get it on DoorDash. Maybe it is a thing. It probably is a thing. Doesn't matter. Hot dogs, burgers, pizzas, sushi, ramen, whatever it is, DoorDash is going to have you covered. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. You just use the promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders of participating merchants. You must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. Let's do the second game of the day. Phoenix and Dallas. The Suns get a much-needed win against whoever was left for Dallas. 125-116, same lineup for Phoenix. Very similar rotation to what they've been running, because we'll start with Bol, the starting power forward, who played 17 minutes again with 6 points and 5 rebounds. And guess what?
Get that garbage out of here.
It's true, Jack. See you later, my guy. Kevin Durant had 21, 9, and 8, which is fine. I wouldn't say it's awesome, but it's fine. And Devin Booker was also fine. 24, 3, and 6. BDNR Nick Richards played 19 minutes. The line is okay. 14 and 9 with a block. But whatever. It is, and I think we've all settled on this now. He's a stream level player, and that's it. Mason Plumlee, the cockroach, had 13 and 5, and Grayson Allen was the one who stepped up, 17 with 3 threes, 4 assists and 2 blocks. But I don't feel confident in using Grayson Allen because it could be Royce O'Neal in the next game, who had 6 points in 29 minutes. One thing I do know is it's not going to be Tyus Jones.
Get that garbage out of here.
Jonesy had 2 points in 23 minutes. He's still being rostered in a lot of spots. and he should not be. There's really not a huge amount to talk about on this Phoenix side. Like Allen and O'Neal, they're sort of streamy guys. Beal was good, 19, 3, and 6, on the back of 70% shooting. And you can't really trust O'Neal and Allen or Richards or any of these guys, and we're definitely not holding on to Bol. The big queries are going to be around the second side of this game, around the Dallas side of this game, because they are just incredibly beat up. Incredibly beat up. Their starting lineup, they made a change. First time it was Dinwiddie, then it was Exum. Now it's Brandon Williams who started at point guard in this one, and we know that Williams has been playing really well. He's been putting up some really big numbers. And he started here over Dante Exum, and everything started to look pretty good, didn't it? 24 minutes, 13, 5 and 6, 3 steals, 50% shooting, and then guess what? Pinged a hammy. Absolutely no idea what his status is going to be for this week, whether they're going to call it soreness or not, I don't know. But Jason Kidd, honest legend that he is, told us that, he, without giving us names, he was like, yeah, these guys left the game. We're going to have like 7 or 8 active, healthy players tomorrow, which, if you add it up, means that Williams will not play tomorrow. So we're in now conundrum state. It clears up stuff, and it also makes it harder, because we know that he only has 8 games left. But if he misses like 5 in a row, that means that he will just play every game in a row when he comes back. But do you have the ability to hold? Does your IL slot open up to put him in? I'm not sure. I don't know the answer to that, but it can be useful if we say he's ruled out the rest of the week, Brandon Williams, and then the week after that's a 2-game week, maybe they sit him out of that one, and then he'd just be like ready to go and you just play him all the way through, basically. But I don't know if that's going to happen. But like I said, also, if he misses 2 games this week and you can't put him in IL, are you going to hold him for 4 games over 11 days? Almost definitely not. Almost definitely not. If you were going to drop Spencer Dinwiddie, I get it. He's actually bad, like very, very clearly bad. But who the hell else is going to play? He had 4 points with 2 assists on 33%. He's going to have to play big minutes tomorrow. We'll see whether they elevate Dante Exum's minutes up, which they haven't really done. He had 12, 2, and 2, but he's at least someone that's in the discussion now. But the reason I would hold Dinwiddie is just because he has to at this point. Caleb Martin played 18 minutes. No indication whether he plays tomorrow, given it's a back-to-back. He had 3 points. We're not really getting to him. And then Kessler Edwards and Dwight Powell collided. Both went to the locker room. Edwards returned. Powell didn't. They were sort of cut up. We had 31 minutes from Edwards. He had 10, 3, and 2, 2 threes and a block, which is like whatever. It's fine-ish. It is definitely not a line where you go, I'm all in. Kessler Edwards, take me there. Get me as far as you can, because that's like completely mid. And he's got even a more restrictive 2-way games limit than Brandon Williams. He's got 7 games left. Actually, you know what? I'm going to double check that because I don't want to lie to you guys. I want to make sure that number is accurate. 6. I did lie. My bad. 6 games left. 8 for Brandon Williams. And it sounds like, well, not sounds, again, Jason Kidd, in all of his honesty, told us that PJ Washington and Kai Jones will be out on Monday as well. So I know a lot of you are going to sit here and you're going to go, man, Naji Marshall's the league winner. I thought that Marshall and Dinwiddie were the 2 ads when Kyrie went down, but I never in a million years thought that I'd be getting 34, 9, and 10 with 2 steals from Naji Marshall in 41 minutes. Because he's had a few opportunities this year, and he's honestly just been relatively poor most of the time. But he was unbelievable here. But again, I want to be very, very clear about this. Yeah, adding Naji Marshall made sense when Kyrie went down. It makes sense now. But there are numerous things here that can just screw this up entirely. PJ Washington comes back. Kai Jones plays, which won't happen tomorrow. Those things can happen, right? That'll immediately just take minutes and touches away. He had 45 combined field goal attempts the last 2 games, Naji Marshall. 45. I'm going to double check this total, but for the season, what's he attempted? 494? So we're talking, what percentage is that? 5%? 5% of his total field goal attempts in 2 games. So, yeah, it's been heavy volume. He shot 59% in this one. He shot 56 the game before that. He shot 55 the game before that. What had Naji Marshall been shooting for the season? He's at under 50. All right, so 5-6 percentage point bump. The assist numbers, he's at 2.8 assists for the season. He had 10 assists in this last game, 2 the game before that, 2 the game before that. And that's not even talking about the fact that if just, I want to just put all the arguments out here. Adding him is fine. But next week, and people, sometimes there's confusion in this. Next week, I'm talking as if we already live in the week that starts March the 10th. I live in that week already, but everything's done fantasy-wise on Sunday. That's over. We're looking at the next week that starts on Monday. That is this week. Next week, the Mavs play 2. Would you start Naji Marshall? Would you hold on? How much value do you get from 2 games of Naji Marshall? The answer is not enough to hold him. So if you're adding him, and you should, absolutely, it's probably for this week. And throwing the term around, league winner, is insane. Because A, that's just not how any of these moves... This is about the 30th league winner that I've heard this season. These aren't league winners. There's no such thing as league winners, so to speak. It is a term that just gets thrown around crazily. There are so many ways for this to fall flat on its ass. Like, easily. You still want to add him. But be very cautious of the way you approach it. Shout out Naji. Klay Thompson's doing more, 32 minutes for him, 26, 5 and 4 with 5 threes. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's inefficient, but it's pretty good. And Max Christie just can't really do anything, can he? 12 points with 4 threes. He's getting a little bit, look, you definitely don't want him in a 2-game week, Max Christie, but he's getting a little bit like, why am I even bothering here? That's sort of the feeling I'm getting with Max at this stage. But again, they have no bodies, so you probably just want to hold him through this 4-game week. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That is $200 extra bucks from everything you can use on buzzer beaters, Cinderella stories, betting who's going to cut down the nets all the way through March Madness. Easy to do. Pick the favorites. Pick the underdogs. Pick whatever you want. Just do it at FanDuel. So go to FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. Let's go to the next game. Memphis and New Orleans. On the road, the Grizzlies win against half of a Pelicans squad, 107-104. So it counts as a win, but I wouldn't think it would feel that great to get a victory like that. Anyway, I don't know what's going on with that font there. Really no idea why that's so faint. But anyway, Vince Williams started for the injured, dealing with calf soreness, Santi Aldama. Williams got the start, but it doesn't really seem to matter whether Williams starts or not. He plays 24 minutes, and he played 24 minutes here. 7 points on 25%, which is dreadful, clearly. He's a streamable guy without being a must roster. Now, and I don't know what happens, because tomorrow they play again. Is Aldama back for that one? Is Jaren Jackson's miracle recovery still going to happen? I don't know. Another thing that I do know, though, is that Zach Edey continues to be mid. 23 minutes, 6 and 12, steal on the block. They won't push him any further because they know he's not good enough. And it's really limiting him in terms of value. I thought that in this sort of a situation where we've got no Jaren Jackson, where they would just try to do more with Edey, but apparently not. And this is even a game with no Santi, no Jaren, and Brandon Clark got 3 fouls in 6 minutes, limiting him to 17. And we still got 23 minutes from Zach Edey. That meant we got Jay Huff. 14 minutes for Huffy. The Dragon had 8 and 4 with 2 threes, a steal, and a block. Good numbers. But do we care enough in most formats? Not really. What we also saw was a big Scott Pippen game. 29 minutes, 12 and 6, 2 steals, 1 block, 2 threes. He didn't jump ahead of Luke Kennard because Luke Kennard was out. So it was a good game from Pippen, who's had a couple of good ones lately. And just keep an eye on this because on Wednesday, the Grizzlies play the Jazz. Ja Morant's been telling us, I shouldn't play, man. I shouldn't play on this shoulder. I actually just shouldn't be out there. Shouldn't really be playing. So just expect him to sit on Wednesday and for either Pippen or Kennard to have a big bump. We just keep our eye on that one. Jalen Wells, much like Edey, honestly, doesn't really scale very well. 9 points with 3 threes on 25%. He had 7 rebounds, a steal and a block. These are all solid enough deep league lines, but they're not really doing anything for us in 12s, while Des Bain had 30 and 9 with 8 assists. As for Morant, he played 37 minutes. It's a lot, my guy. And it's the first of a back-to-back. Does he just not play tomorrow, maybe? I don't know. 32, 4 and 6 with 3 steals, big volume, shocking free throws. There's always something. He's maybe new age CJ McCollum, the guy that you see a line, you go, that's pretty good, and there's always something, that's bloody random. Why did he shoot 64% from the line? It just always feels like there's something with him. Just there's always something going on that holds him back. The Pelican side of things, well, we got a little bit bamboozled, hoodwinked, led astray, because we don't really have a huge amount to go on with some of these lineup decisions. What we saw last time they had a back-to-back, Olynyk, Brown, CJ, Zion sat the back-to-back. This back-to-back, Olynyk didn't sit the back-to-back. He played both games. And to top it off, he played 31 minutes today. Was that in any way predictable? I don't think so. I don't think you could have possibly seen that. Hey, Kelly Olynyk, who got traded, didn't show up to the team before the All-Star break, came in. Immediately they started and they said, hey, we've got to rest him through the break. We've got to rest him through All-Star. All right, cool. Not All-Star. We've got to rest him through back-to-backs. And then you get another back-to-back and he's available to play more minutes than any other game that he's played before. What? Why would that happen? Don't know, but it did. And I thought that might be really a limiting factor in my Carlo Makovic weekend stream. But not really, because Makovic had 13, 11, 2 threes, steal, and a block. He shot really well. It's very hard, and it's impossible, really, to have Makovic and say he's a 12-10 league guy, because he's not. But there are always these little flashes and little singular areas where you can pick at him. Before the season, I was like, I think Carlo Makovic fits really well on this team, and I don't really believe that Yves Missi or Daniel Tice will be so good that they keep him out of the role. And for 4 months, I was completely wrong. Like, they just never went to Makovic. We're seeing a lot of limitations from Yves Missi, who had 10 and 9 with a steal and a block here. And yeah, like they obviously invested more in him with a first-round pick versus a second-round pick in Makovic, and Missi's younger than Makovic. But I don't know. Long-term, will Missi end up better than Makovic? I don't know. Carlo's just a name again. We've got on fantasy speed dial. We're just, someone out? Let's see what happens. Because there was no Zion and there was no CJ here. Last time there was no CJ, you know who started? Bruce Brown. Well, in this game, Bruce Brown played under 20 minutes and had 5 points on 14% and didn't start. Because again, how would you know that? Instead, what they did, they went with a man who was questionable heading into the game, who'd been playing 23 minutes a night, and they said, all right, now it's time for you to start Jose Alvarado, 31 minutes. 32 actually. 11 points, 3 threes, 11 assists, 2 blocks. He shot 21%. If Jose played 32 minutes a night, all over it. That's a definite 12er. But, again, what happens? CJ Zion come back next game. And, by the way, I don't think that we're getting any BJ Boston action this season. He's got a stress fracture in his ankle. Like they said, it's a couple of weeks. Yeah, okay, cool. I'll see you in September. I don't think he's playing. Maybe I'm wrong. But, yeah, that is just an extra level of confusion. And same is it with Olynyk, because Olynyk's games have not been very good lately. This one was fine, 12, 4, and 4 with 2 steals, but honestly, it couldn't have been set up better. No Zion, no CJ, 31 minutes, and you did that. So we are getting to the stage, and they've got a game on Tuesday, so I'd likely hold for that. We're getting to the stage where it's not going to be worth holding on to Olynyk, I think. Ken Murphy had 27 and 5 with 2 threes and 2 blocks, and there's not much else going on. Oh yeah, Jordan Hawkins remains bad. 12 points with 2 threes, 5 rebounds. He's really, I don't know if he's really taken many steps forward this season at all, which is unfortunate given, he was a lottery pick, but hasn't really panned out so far. This is the game where I don't really know how to address it. It's the Sixers and the Jazz. The Jazz, Kyle Filipowski started. Walker Kessler was resting again. Of course he was. I expected that Kessler would miss most of this week or nearly all of it, and I got it almost right. We still had no Markkanen, no Collins. We had Sexton out again. We had no Clarkson, as they shamelessly sack guys against bad teams. We had Filipowski start. We had Zhuzhang move into the starting lineup. Bryce Sensabaugh stayed in the starting group. Now, their next games are against Boston, Memphis, then Toronto, and Minnesota. So, probably this week, I worry that Markkanen and Collins just don't show up again. Same with Clarkson, but I think Sexton and Kessler, you might get 2 to 3 out of them this week, maybe 3. But I don't know. I don't know how to tell you about that. There's just no real way of knowing it. Again, the week profile is very different to the week that just passed, given the teams that are actually good outside of Toronto. Meaning that we might get a little bit of a swan song here from Markkanen or Collins. A little mid-March appearance, show your face, drop a big game, maybe get a win, maybe not, hopefully not for them, and then they're done. But I don't know. Filipowski, 25-7, 4 threes, 3 steals. I think we just got to roster him. It is more likely than not that he maintains top 100 numbers rest of season. Isaiah Collier, the 10 assists are great, the 2 steals are great, and he actually was good from the line. But still, I think the overall numbers that you're getting from Collier mean that he is a stream-level guy and not a must. Keontae George, 25 and 6, 3 threes and 3 steals. A pretty good game. I actually think I prefer George over Collier at the moment. KJ Martin, very, very slow early, but in the end, the line was fine. 36 minutes, 14 and 7 with 2 blocks. You'd love to get that, but could do absolutely nothing in the next one. And we're just sort of left in limbo here. And I don't think that KJ Martin's upside is high enough to wait through the nonsense. Zhuzhang was like serviceable enough for 14 teamers, 15 and 7 with 3 threes, and Sensabaugh similar. 14, 5 and 4, 4 threes, 2 steals. But again, what if these guys play like 14 minutes in the next game which is tomorrow, because everyone is miraculously healed? Collins, Kessler, Markin, and Sexton Clarkson. What if they're all back? Again, that is totally possible. But I don't know, and you don't know, and I just wish that we knew. But we don't, and I can't really do much about it. The Sixers is where we get even more confusing. Because pre-game, Nick Nurse is like, all right, we've been playing these guys a lot of minutes. Geez, I wonder whose fault that is, Nicholas. And he said in particular, Quentin Grimes, Kelly Oubre, and Gershon Yabusele. So, Grimes played 27 minutes here. Oubre played under 20, and Yabusele played 12. Shameless, in-game tanking, and they still won. It was made to sound from Nurse and from Sixers reporters around that this was something that he was going to be doing moving forward. But I don't know. Because then after the game, Nick Nurse is like, oh yeah, Tyrese Maxey's questionable tomorrow. Is he? Okay. They play the Hawks. But then they have the Raptors, who they are in direct competition with to try and get into a lower spot with higher lottery odds. So Paul George still is out, and I'm pretty sure we don't see PG again this season. And I think if Maxey does play, it'll be sporadic and for a short amount of time. But they've got the Hawks, they've got the Pacers, they've got the Mavericks and the Rockets. So what happens against the Mavericks? What happens against the Raptors? They're not going to play these guys. And then the question now extends, so do we then mean that we saw 12 minutes of Andre Drummond? 10 minutes of Andre Drummond, who had 6 and 2. He had that one monster game during the week. Everything else has been shocking. Hasn't been good at all. Absolutely not going to be worth a roster spot. But the thing that here is, I know you're going to look at this, because I'll talk about the good games in a sec. Grimes was great. 25, 6 assists, 2 steals, 27 minutes. But I don't really trust Quentin Grimes in 27 minutes being a 12-team league guy. I think that some of the stuff that Nurse said and some of the ways the rotations worked are very specific to this game, and they'll be more specific to the game on Wednesday and the game against Dallas, which is on Saturday, I think. Friday or Saturday. I think that we'll see more of that in those games, but not necessarily every game. So when you look at this game and go, man, do I need to get bonerific here? Because Adem Bona, who I really like as a player, he cooked. 32 minutes, 14 and 14, 2 steals and 5 blocks. But you know why he cooked? Drummond and Yabusele combined for 22 minutes. They just didn't play. The third string center, Adem Bona, was able to play a lot of minutes. But did they play him a lot of minutes because A, it was against the Jazz, or B, this is the plan moving forward? I clearly can't give you an answer because I don't know. My inkling is if you have to put a sliding scale, it leans towards they're playing the Jazz. So it can be almost impossible to look at that game from Bona. And I know some of you really do struggle not to look at Bona, right? And look at those numbers and go, yeah, I'll leave it. Because it's bloody good. Because you go, what if it's Bona time? What if it's Bona time? Then you'd feel stupid for missing out. And I get it. Get ahead of it. We know the mantra, yeah? But is this just a case of it's the Jazz? And you get 1 or 2 of these games a week, and then it's nonsense for 3 weeks, and then it happens finally on April the 1st. Same with Lon Walker. Big game. One of his best games ever. I think that's actually a career high for rebounds. 25, 11, and 5, 3 threes. He hit 44% of his shots, which is pretty standard. That's a very good game. If I knew that Lonnie Walker would do that and Oubre would play under 20 minutes a night, I'd actually be interested in grabbing him. Same with Jared Butler, who had 15 with 9 assists in 29 minutes. But Butler could legitimately play 5 minutes in the next game because Maxey returns. So there's a lot of interesting things here. Walker, Bona, hello. I'm not helloing the Bona. I should have helloed the Walker. Butler, even old mate Alex Reese, Angel's brother, had 6 and 9 with 3 steals and a block, which is bloody useful for deep leagues. But he's also a two-way limited guy. Justin Edwards started. He got his minutes reduced. Justin Edwards. That's how you get the indication where you go, yeah, I think you might be all bullshitting us because I'm so sorry. Justin Edwards hasn't been playing 40 minutes a night. You're just like doing anything you can to make sure you lose. And you still didn't. Edwards had 11 and 4 on 23%. If Oubre and Grimes were to stay with really limited loads, then, Edwards would become useful. But in the end, it's a lot of the time where you don't want to make a move that costs you a nothing, which some of these could be, because as you'll see at the end of the show when I recap the streaming plan, having moves and getting guys who are going to play every 1 or 2 days, it's almost foolproof. Versus what if Bona is the guy? But what if he's not? And when the odds are stacked heavily against him being the guy, it becomes tough. Always. Again, you got stashability and roto and deeper leagues and weekly locks, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, sticking a little Bona on your bench there is a pretty solid move. Having a crack at Lon Walker in those, no problem. Because you don't have to deploy them every day. But when you've got to make those everyday decisions, doing that and then Bona plays 12 minutes in the next game, that costs you. That loses your matchup. So again, I don't know the answer because who am I to know? I don't know. I'm telling you the way that I view it from a top-down view, the ways that it can go right or wrong, and my inkling is that a lot of the stuff that happened today is opponent-specific. Let's navigate our way through to the next one. You know what? Actually, now that I've just recorded that whole segment, and I forgot, did I mention that Nick Nurse said that Tyrese Maxey was questionable? I think I did. I'm pretty sure I did. But if I didn't, just in case, he's questionable for Monday. I still don't think he's going to play. Well, that's not true. I don't think he's going to play many games. But who knows? Just another team that's going to confuse us all the way through here. The fifth game of the day, the San Antonio Spurs and the Minnesota Timberwolves, is it very predictable or is it relatively predictable sort of set of circumstances for the Spurs? Is that without Wemby, they go out there, there's some high-scoring games. They lose, of course. Steph Castle puts up big scoring and does something inefficient with limited other stats around it. And it's the same thing, rinse and repeat. We'll start with Castle. He played 28 minutes. He had 20 and 7 with 4 assists and a steal, which on its head is good. No steals, no blocks, no threes. So not true, he had a steal. And then 6 of 9 from the line. Like what? So Castle, again, you would think that he's been pretty good because for the large part, he scored really well. But scoring does sort of mask other things at times. Like he has over the last 5 games in 30 minutes a night, he's ranked 114th. Okay, is that good? Not really. That's a guy where you'd stream it and you would have better results from getting max games in it. Over the last 2 weeks, he is 164th. Is that close to 12-team value? No, not even. Not remotely. But there's a lot of scoring. Points leagues, he is better. Absolutely. But he's still only 150th for the season, Steph Castle, in points leagues. It is hard to leave 20 points on the wire. It's very hard to do that. But just understand there's lacking in other areas. And it seems to be, again, the same thing nearly every game. Devin Vassell, 13, 4 and 2, 2 steals and a block, 33 minutes. Only 27 minutes for De'Aaron Fox here. That's something to watch. He had 22, 2 and 3, while Chris Paul had 7 with 7 assists, 2 steals and a block. That's useful enough from Paul, but I don't think that he is a must-roster player. We got unearthed from the crypt Sandro Mamakilishvili. 14 minutes, 8 points, steal and a block. Is that a regular thing? I don't know. And what about that random 30-minute Bismack Biyombo game? Well, didn't get that again. 18 minutes, 10 and 4. 100% shooting, no defensive stats. The one game was great, but we got nothing. On the other days, it's sub 20 minutes as a starter. That would mean, of course, that you'd play a lot more Jeremy Sohan. No, you wouldn't actually. 5 and 3 in 18 minutes for Sohan. A very easy drop, obviously.
Get that garbage out of here.
While Keldon Johnson, the horse, is just not a good player. He is not a good real-life player. He is a terrible fantasy player. 13, 4 and 2 with a 0-0. 1 of 2 from the line. Not interested.
Get that garbage out of here.
It was 15 points for 22 minutes for Harrison Barnes, which again doesn't really mean anything. Just a lot of nothingness. I am waiting for a period of time in this season where Malachi Branham and Blake Wesley are going to be the guys that people go, anything to see here? And the answer will be, maybe as a stream. It is going to happen, but it is the same pattern at the moment. 18 minutes for Biyombo. Castle scores a lot off the bench, has the highest usage, and is inefficient in some area. And rinse repeat. Every game. Same shit. Over and over. Until something will break and something will click and something will flip. Guess who came back? The big fella, Rudy Gobert. He finally returned. And you look at this and go, man, I should have dropped. He played just 20 minutes. And here is why you've got to be very cautious about that. He had 3 fouls incredibly early. So they just pulled him off. Giggity. Yeah, he only ended with 4 because there's nothing better than I love. I love to watch teams foul their own players out so the refs can't. You're not going to foul him out, ref. I'll do it for you. I'm never going to let you foul him out. I'll just do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. I won't give you the satisfaction of doing it, ref. I'll foul them out instead. The only coach who seems to actually understand how insanely stupid that is Mark Dagnott. Oh yeah, that team's got the best record in the NBA. Coincidental? Obviously that doesn't mean that's not why they got the best record, but he's a bloody smart coach. Anyway, thanks Chris Finch, 16-8 with 2 steals. Honestly, if you started Gobert even with the low minutes, you don't care because that's a great line. But what we didn't get to see is what it means for the impact on others because we still got 27 Wizard of Nas Reed minutes, 20-7, 4 threes, 4 assists, and 2 blocks. Does anyone ever wonder why I call Nas Reed the Wizard of Noz? I'll explain it in another show. Jaden McDaniels, 7 assists, 16 points, 2 threes, 2 steals. Again, there's a big caveat here against the Spurs, who just don't really do anything at the moment. They don't defend at all. But that's good. But again, we just don't know, with Gobert back, what that impact necessarily is here, because he barely played. DiVincenzo still came off the bench behind Conley, and Conley's playing much better. He's at least streamable in 12s now. 13, 5, and 5, or DiVincenzo had 17 and 4 threes in 27 and is a 12-team league guy. The little run you had of Gilgeous-Alexander Walker being useful is done. He had 10, 2, and 2. And honestly, just a relatively bog-standard rotation. TJ Shannon back sort of on the outskirts with 8 minutes. Dillingham in the garbage unit. And we've got 13 Jalen Clark minutes. But honestly, a really straightforward rotation from the Wolves. And then we'll figure more stuff out when Gobert doesn't get 3 fouls in about the first 2 minutes. The next game is the Cavs and the Bucks. 2 actually really good teams. The Cavs, they didn't actually push their guys into huge minutes because they won easily. Again, what's that, 14 consecutive wins? 112 to 100. So Jarrett Allen got 30 minutes, which is more than he usually gets. 11 and 6 with 3 steals and a block. It was a big game from the winter soldier, Max Strus. 17 and 9 with 5 threes. He shot well. Don't care. Not rostering him in 12s. Ty Jerome, 9, 1, and 1. 33% on 18 minutes. And when I talked earlier about Ty Jerome and Aaron Wiggins, I actually hadn't seen this Jerome line, what it ended up being. But thanks for proving my point, Milk. He's 135th over his last 5 games now, and that's in 24 minutes a night. He will have games where he spikes. But honestly, at this time, in the fantasy playoffs, holding hostage over a roster spot, waiting for a spike because someone rests or someone gets hot, is the way to lose. You will lose your matchups if you just keep doing things like that. Because I'll stream in a combination of Jalen Wells, Sam Hauser, Rashawn Holmes, some other spud, and then double you up. Because that is how streaming works at this time of the year. So it's all well and good to be like, oh, Jerome's had this really good season, a nice run, someone will rest, he'll have a couple of spike games, but he's the 7th man, he played 18 minutes. It's not good enough. Same as it's not good enough to hold on to DeAndre Hunter, who had 6 points in 19 minutes. I'm sure you're not holding on to Sam Merrill, who had 9 points in 3 minutes, but these guys, Strus, Wade, Merrill, Jerome, Okoro, Hunter, none of them are 12-team league players. A few of them can be streamed at the right spot, but none of them should be sitting on your roster going, yeah, I got him and I'm good. No, you shouldn't be doing it. And I think I've been relatively clear on my thoughts on that sort of a strategy idea. Let's look at the Bucks side of things. They lose, as I said, because the Cavs won. Brook Lopez, 30 minutes. The Lopez minutes this season have been so wild. There's been like a period where he just plays 24 a night, then he goes 36 a night, and now Doc pushed him to 33 with Bobby Portis out, and now Doc is saying, yeah, with Portis out, we're actually going to have to keep his minutes lower, make sure he doesn't wear out. And I get it, but it's a little counterintuitive. But we got Jericho Sims playing. 18 minutes. He went scoreless, of course, because that's what he is, but he had 9 boards. So we're not doing anything outrageous with Lopez, but just expect some mutedness. This was a back-to-back, and Giannis played 34 minutes, had 30 and 9. Lillard had 22, 5 and 4, so that's a W there. And Kuzma was Kuzma. 14 and 6, 32 minutes, a steal. Didn't hit a free throw, didn't attempt one, which is a W. But honestly, again, I will state this, if you're in the 12-team playoff scenario, I'm not sure holding Kuzma makes any sense. Even with Portis out. I don't think he does enough. Kevin Porter was just, honestly, just go back and watch some of the highlights of Kevin Porter in this game. He had 2, 2, and 2 in 10 minutes, absolutely not rosterable. And Gaz Trent, not rosterable, 5 points, 20 minutes, 11%. Big Boom AJ was also shit. 2 points in 20 minutes for AJ Green. These are just not guys that you want to trust any level at all. You just throw them in and go, maybe something cracks, but it usually doesn't. The same with the artist formerly known as Torian Prince. 6 points and 2 threes. They are wild, deep league, flyer-ish types that occasionally have the big game, and you just can't prepare for that. Let's go to the next game. The Detroit Pistons and the Portland Trailblazers. The Pistons on the road, 119-112. They just keep winning. Jalen Duren had some foul trouble, but he still got to 29 minutes, 18 and 12 with 2 steals, and his strong second half continues. It's a little bit down, but it continues. While the thick Hogsman, 37 minutes, 20 and 9 with 2 blocks. I can't believe that Tobias Harris is going to actually turn into a guy that is going to be justified of a top 75 pick. Maybe not quite there. Maybe, Jesus. Cade Cunningham, 28, 4 and 5, elite from the field, elite from the line, a million turnovers, but the other stuff's great. And we actually got a good Tim Hardaway game. Don't bank on that happening, but 13 and 7 with 3 threes. What I wanted to see was, hey, was JB Bickerstaff lying about the minutes restriction for Asar Thompson? And I still don't know. Because he got into foul trouble again, Asar. He played 21 minutes for 5 points. He had 2 steals, he had 6 rebounds, and honestly, the production at the moment, due to the fouls, has been annoying. It's been bad. I would still like to hold, and I just want to see him not in foul trouble, and to see, is the 25 minutes, 26 minutes, because of this minutes restriction, or is that just, something that JB wants to do? We've got no idea yet. Malik Beasley. I know Beasley, I know someone will say, in a competitive league, Josh, Malik Beasley is a must for us to play. If you drop him, you're going to be kicked out of the league because you're too bad. But, yeah, maybe don't hold him. And there are plenty of reasons for that. A, he does one thing well. He hits threes. And they can be very hit or miss. And we're seeing at the moment that we are in the miss phase of Leaky Beasley. The next part of it is that Detroit have a schedule where they play on Tuesday, and then there's 2 more games the rest of the week for them. And that's fine. Like, okay, maybe that's they've got a 3-game week. Let's put it that way. Is 3 games of Leaky Beasley worth holding in your fantasy playoffs? You should be screaming, like, absolutely not. What are you talking about? But I know people will think it is. And again, I won't go through in much detail as I did last week on the streaming plan, but I'm going to show you just how crazy it is to hold one of your worst 3 or 4 players and avoid streaming that roster spot. It's crazy. Dennis Schroeder was fine enough. He's a single game stream guy, 12, 4 and 4, and that's really about it for this one, or for the Detroit side of it. On the Portland side, there was still no Denny Avdia for them. They were able to roll the same starting lineup, meaning Shaedon Sharpe was back starting. Shaedon Sharpe played, unfortunately, just 28 minutes. He had foul trouble again, or not again, or another player with foul trouble, more to the point, and he sucked. And he is one of those, a different category of player to an Aaron Wiggins or a Ty Jerome, where they need to have this incredibly high efficiency to get by. He needs super high usage paired with above average efficiency. 12, 4, 1, 000, 36% shooting, minutes were down, and he has been playing well, and I would still hold him, but what if we get a scenario where Avdia returns and Grant still plays? Bro's not going to be even close to being worth it. Shaedon Sharpe, well, that was him, sorry. Scoot Henderson was fine enough, 15, 5 and 2. I like Scoot. I think there's still something there in him. The way that he is playing and the way that the role gets distributed means that he is not a 12-team league must at all. Anthony Simons had a very good game, 34 points, and we actually got a good Jeremy Grant game. 36 minutes, 25 with 6 threes. Now, I say good. It was. 25 with 6 threes is good. Just don't look at the rest. 2-1-0-0. Bro is a scoring option only who's shooting some of the worst 2-point percentage you've ever seen. Not a 12-team league guy. The next question is going to be, what about Don Klingon? It's a tough one, Klingon, isn't it? Because he remains not very good as a real-life player. He played 22 minutes and had 3 points. But 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, and 2 blocks is pretty good. He's incredibly limited. Incredibly limited. He's not a league winner. He never was a league winner. League winners don't exist. He's okay to have in certain spots for certain situations. And that situation is not in a points league. He's not a must roster in a points league scenario, I don't believe. In a category league, maybe. It's not looking very good, though. Like, the numbers he's putting up at the moment, if you needed to move on and make a drop, probably do better without him, honestly, in a lot of these individual spots. And they are a team that only has 2 quality games next week. They play on Monday, Then they've got a game on Wednesday, then a 3-day break with a game on Sunday. And he will definitely, Donovan Clingan, be a part of my streaming plan study, where I just say, drop him. And let's compare his results with streaming the spot. And I'll tell you right now what the answer is going to be. You're going to cook that spot if you don't drop him. It's going to be a terrible move that in the aggregate for that 1 week, you will lose out if you hold on to Clingan. And we are here at the end of the season, where is Donovan Clingan's value high enough to deal with a nonsense week like this, where you might not end up getting through because of mismanagement, just to wait for him to come out and be the 110th best guy the week after? The answer is no, but we'll see. So yeah, drop him. I would feel fine with dropping him at this point. A rough night from Kamara. Again, didn't know that he was going to do this when I referenced him earlier on. 7 points on 33%. He did have 5 assists, 1 steal, and 2 blocks, so that gets it done. But again, over the last 5 games, he's 164th. Over the last 2 weeks, he's 129th. He had that hot streak where he was cooking and everyone was really, really riding it hard. You'll notice you don't see any Tamani Kamara social media posts over the last week or two because he wasn't on an incredible hot streak. But all of this matters for us, and the production at the moment is not good enough. I will put him in the study as well, I think, even though, again, it seems blasphemous to consider dropping Tamani Kamara. But I will guarantee you this. If you drop Tamani Kamara next week, you will come out of it on top by streaming that spot. Very certain you will. And what happens after that, I don't know. But I feel that you'll be okay if that's the direction you end up going. And then the final game of the night. It went to overtime, and we got a buzzer beater. Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers win. Kawhi gets the game winner, 111-110 over the Sacramento Kings, who were without Malik Monk and Domantas Sabonis. Still not really an indication, nothing concrete anyway, on when those guys are returning. Maybe they play again on Monday, tomorrow, so Sabonis won't play in that one. But maybe Monk is available there. I don't know. DeMar DeRozan, 44 minutes, 31, 7, and 10. The line is great. 45% on 20 attempts, it's great. 12 and 12 from the line is great. He shot 14% from 3, and I reckon he hit at least two, maybe 3 2-pointers with his foot on the line. Like, bro, what are you doing? Because if one of those is half of a foot, and by foot I mean his own foot, not Imperial Weirdo measurements, his own foot back, they win the game. Bro. Zach LaVine, 30 and 7. Big games from those two former Bulls as Sacramento turns into Bulls West. And Valanciunas had 9 points. He had 17 rebounds. He had 7 assists. He had a steal and a block. He shot horribly, but 42 minutes from Jonas Valanciunas? All right, I guess that's what we're doing. You roll with Valanciunas until Sabonis comes back. When that is, I'm not sure. Might be later on this week. We don't know. And yeah, he's going to be out tomorrow. And then we just see, I guess, where we go. And they got a weird schedule because their next games are Thursday, Friday with a back-to-back. So even if Sabonis returns, he's not playing both of those. So I would think that you've got a weird spot here. Monday with 1 game on. Sorry, with 12 games on, but they play, and then they've got Thursday, Friday. It's a little weird where I know Valanciunas is putting up good numbers, but again, when you talk about it, they got 2 quality games this week. And one of them, he might be a reserve. Is he worth dropping? I think the answer probably, it's not locked in, but I think the answer is probably yes. I'd say with Keegan Murray, we feel better about that because his boost games are this, 15 and 6 with 3 threes. If I've got 2 quality games, I don't really care. That's not good enough. Keon Ellis also, 31 minutes, 8 points. He had a steal. He had 2 threes. And with Sabonis and Monk out, you'd think you'd be getting at least a bit of a higher floor. But you're not. And they've got 2 quality games next week, and Monk and Sabonis might be back. So, if you want, and you are ruthless in the fantasy playoffs, 2 games doesn't cut it. So you know what does get cut? Keon Ellis.
Get that garbage out of here.
Laravia played 31 minutes. He's a good player. Memphis gave him up for nothing. I remember Grizzlies fans fighting me. Oh, no, they didn't. They did it at the Cavs place. They needed to be able to re-sign Santi Aldama and Jaren Jackson. Cool. That'll happen in July. They gave him up for nothing. Insane. Laravia, and one of the reasons that the Memphis fans said, we had too many rotation players. They weren't going to play. as Santi Aldama and Jaren Jackson both sit injured on the sidelines currently. Laravia had 7 and 3 with 3 steals in 31 minutes. Honestly, it's indefensible what Memphis did at the trade deadline. One of the worst underrated trade deadlines you will see. Just horrific. Absolutely ridiculous. Laravia's a good player who's never going to be a star or anything like that, and he's not even really usable here, but he played a sizable role. Not much else going on apart from Devin Carter's back in the rotation, because Markel Fultz, maybe there is some sort of a reason that he wasn't signed all season. He played 2 minutes and had nothing apart from a missed shot, and I'm not sure we will see much of Markel as we move forward from here. Let's move on to the other side of this game. It is the Clippers. They rolled out the same starting lineup again. Jim Harden, a very, very good run from Jimmy at the moment. 44 minutes, 29, 9, 11, 53 from the field, 75 from the line. Would you say he's been... Yeah, no, he has. Because he was going at points in round 3 in draft season. I had him at 12, 13. And if you took him at round 12, pick 12, pick 13, you've gotten the results back where he is the 13th ranked player. So that's a pretty big W. Zubats was also another very key target in drafts, and I didn't expect this. This is well above any of my expectations. 22 and 14 for him, while Kawhi, inefficient, but he hit the game winner. And his efficiency is very much down this season. He played 40 minutes though, 17, 4 and 2, triple one, 37% shooting, and 2 of 4 from the line. He has been nowhere close to being a top 20 per game player. The efficiency stuff is so far off. I hope that it comes back. But you have to be a bit worried at this point in his career that maybe it never reaches back to that level. Chris Dunn. Now, in contrast to the Kings, the Clippers have the best schedule because they play Tuesday, Wednesday, and nobody else does. So while you can look at Dunn and go 4-2-4 steal block, that's pretty bad. It is. You're right. But nobody else gives you the back-to-back Tuesday, Wednesday. So if you've got Dunn, you don't care about Monday with 12 games on. You get an automatic 2 games there without having to use any moves at all. Sign me up. And I'd say the same for Bogdan Bogdanovic, who, again, was poor. 9, 2, and 4. But one of these games, Kawhi's going to be out. He'll get a boost. And you get the Tuesday, Wednesday. Nick Batum, was he good? Not really. 9 and 4, 3 threes and a block. But guess what you get? You get the Tuesday, Wednesday back-to-back, which is actually invaluable. Because they play the Tuesday, Wednesday back-to-back, and nobody plays Wednesday, Thursday. So if you're looking to maximize what you're doing, you have a chance with Batum, for example, of getting 60 minutes of game time for no moves. Well, you might not have Batum on your roster, but like if you add for 1 move and nobody else can come near that. It's actually impossible for anyone to get that much on-court time versus what these Clippers guys can do. So that's why you hold Dunn. That's why you hold Bogdanovic. Now, obviously, Kawhi is going to sit one of them, and Derek Jones might sit as well, but he was good here too, 17 with 2 threes. But the value is in the Tuesday, Wednesday. Plus, they have 2 other quality games for the week. But the Tuesday, Wednesday is really the key for the Clippers for this upcoming week. All right. It is International Wig Day. We'll do the lines of the night in a sec. I do just want to do a quick recap on the streaming plan. I haven't prepared any graphics or anything like that. But what we looked at was 2 different ways. A 1-slot stream for 4 moves and a 2-slot stream for 4 moves. And the one that looked to be the best was going to be the 1-slot because you didn't get really a sizable advantage on the 2-slot. The 1-slot, the streams that I used was Levert into Cornette, into Davion Mitchell, into Brandon Williams. Not good. Those players are not particularly good. That netted you 215 Yahoo fantasy points. The guys that I suggested to be dropped, this is the list of players I said, hey, let's consider all these guys droppable. Tyus Jones, Nick Richards, Jeremy Sohan, Keldon Johnson, Day'Ron Sharp, Peyton Pritchard, maybe that one didn't work, Drew Holiday, Russell Westbrook, Aaron Gordon, Wendell Carter, Cole Anthony, Bilal Coulibaly, Keyshawn George, and Alex Sarr. And all of those guys were rostered in pretty heavy amounts, were considered 12-team league players as a general rule across many different areas. Some of you, yes, some of you, no. But if you dropped any of those guys and went Levert, Cornette, Mitchell, Brandon Williams, or the other one, which was Terrence Mann, Sam Hauser, Deuce McBride, and Carlo Makovic, do you know what the difference was? Let's use Peyton Pritchard, who had enormous games during this week. He totaled 115.7 Yahoo fantasy points. If you went Terrence Mann, Sam Hauser, Deuce McBride, Carlo Makovic, and those 2 Deuce McBride games are the ones where he shot about 10%, you got in those games 148 Yahoo fantasy points. So it's not a giant win, but it's 35 points, which is still better than 115. It's an extra 35 points. If you did the Levert, Cornette, Mitchell, Davion Mitchell, Brandon Williams stream, well, you got 100 more points than what holding on to Peyton Pritchard would have given you. If you held on to Jeremy Sohan, he got 42 points for the week. If you held on to Russell Westbrook, he got 93 points for the week. If you held on to Bilal Coulibaly, he got you 83 points for the week. If you held on to Cole Anthony, he got you 83 points for the week. The differences are ridiculous. If we do the 2-slot stream, and there was 2 different ways to do this, the best, the 2 different options I had with my 2-slot streaming, one of them gave me 281 points for 2 slots. The other gave me 242 points for 2 slots. The best case scenario of those guys to be dropped from the best performances gave me 209. So again, the difference, and I didn't recommend the 2-slot stream for this week because the differences wasn't going to be huge, but that's even including the best case, which is Peyton Pritchard, and if you drop Peyton Pritchard and Russell Westbrook, they gave you 208 points for the week. But if you streamed in a Levert, Klingon, Bilal, Dunn, Makovich, whatever combination it was for 2 slots, you still beat it by 30. And the worst case scenario, or the best case scenario for this idea, is if you had a Drew Holiday or and you considered dropping him, or a Tyus Jones. Well, they got 50 points combined. And the 2-slot stream yielded, in the best case scenario, 281 fantasy points. That difference is enormous. And the names are so bad. Just pick any name. Keldon Johnson and Cole Anthony. If you drop, they got 62 and 83. It's 140 points. If you did the 2-slot stream, you got 281. Right? By getting randomness through players. I will continue to track this. It is pretty self. It took a 43-point 10 triple game from Peyton Pritchard to make it even get close. And even then, an absolute outlier career best game, and even then, you're still better off by streaming through that roster spot. So be aware this week, there are plenty of teams with 2 quality games. We're going to track it. I think you can get more value from a 2-slot stream versus a 1 this week. And even guys you don't think are going to be worth it, McBride, Cornette, Hauser, Mann, Davion Mitchell, Makovich, you will just flood the zone with so much volume that it becomes not impossible to lose, but it becomes impossible to lose that math equation of holding on to one of your worst 3 players just because you think that they're the 110th best guy for the season. Let's do the old lines of the night to get out of here. The monstrous line of the night. It's Naji Marshall. Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be Naji Marshall? That's where we're at this time of the year. 34-9 with 10 assists, the big fella. Really wreaking havoc. We know we gave so many explanations about that earlier on. The waiver wire line of the night and the young gun of the night, it's the same guy. It's Adem Bona. 14-14 with 2 steals and 5 blocks is an outrageously good line. Am I skeptical? Yeah. I like him a lot, but I am skeptical, and you know why. I've talked about it. I've talked about the minutes in this game. How repeatable are they? My guess is, at least for now, not really, but we'll find out. And the dud of the night, the worst performer who is heavily rostered, it goes to your mate, Spencer Dinwiddie, who is trash. Absolutely, he is bad. But remember, Williams is hurt now. At some point, he will have a good game, I'm guessing. But also, if you wanted to drop him, go for it. He's not good enough. You do better just streaming guys through. Maximizing your moves. Getting more games in is the key. I hate that it is the key, but it is the key. Give the video a thumb. Double bang it. Leave your comments down below. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.